1967 was a big year for music. Bands such as the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Who released groundbreaking albums, at least in my opinion, during the year 1967. And then there were bands you probably don't know very well. Bands like Moby Grape. Moby Grape was a band from San Francisco. They came out of the hippie scene, kind of the Haight-Ashbury kind of thing, along with bands like Jefferson Airplane, the Grateful Dead, Big Brother and the Holding Company. Just really good bands, but this one was overlooked. They had their little bit of success, but as far as recognition that bands like Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead got, or even success like Jefferson Airplane, commercial success, it just didn't happen for them, and it's a shame. They're a very good band. They were a band that combined rock with country, jazz, blues, psychedelia, lots of different kind of things all mashed together into the sound that they had. And it was a unique sound, and they're a very good band, and I'm going to review their debut album, just called Moby Grape. Now, Moby Grape's debut album was released on April 25th, 1967, prior to a lot of the albums we consider groundbreaking albums from 1967, such as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And it did alright. It reached number 24 on the Billboard Top 200, which is very respectable. But it dropped off quickly. For some strange reason, I don't know, the record company decided to release 10 of the 13 album tracks on 5 singles on the same day, which I don't understand. I believe it could be a big reason why they didn't get very big. Only the songs Hey Grandma and Omaha from this album charted, and they deserve it. They're great songs, but there's other really good songs on this album. I believe if they had spaced them out a little more, they could have done a lot more, made a lot more commercially, and been more successful. But it didn't happen. But I'll talk about this album a little bit. Like I said, released April of '67. There was some controversy over the cover. The cover originally featured the drummer flipping the bird, and they had to airbrush that out. Skip Spence was standing in front of a flag, an American flag. They decided to airbrush that out because of the political climate at the time. This cover was shot by a guy named Jim Marshall, who was a pretty big photographer at the time. So they airbrushed out the middle finger, they airbrushed out the American flag, they turned the flag to red, and then they decided that the red seemed communist, and this was during the Cold War still, so they didn't want that, so they made it black. So eventually it was a black flag with out the middle finger up. I guess the whole thing was restored for the UK reissue, the whole cover as it originally was, and I'm assuming today that's the cover they use, but who knows? Places like Walmart probably wouldn't sell an album even from the 60s with someone with the middle finger up, so who knows? But that's what happened with this album cover. It just seemed like something I should mention. There's a lot going on with that album cover, and 13 songs on this album. I'm not going to get into every track because it's Moby Grape. It's not the Beatles. It's hard to explain. It's not Sgt. Pepper where you gotta go song by song and talk about what went behind the song, the lyrics are about, stuff like that. This is just a rock and roll album. It's really all it is, by a very good band. Now, as far as their sound, I mentioned that they kind of had like a mishmash of different styles. There were 4 members. They all sang, which was kind of rare at the time. I mean, obviously bands like the Beatles did that, but Beatles, the Monkees, some other bands did that, but I mean, it wasn't done very much. And this is regarded as one of the few psychedelic masterpieces ever made. Now, not then, but now it's regarded as a masterpiece. And to tell you the truth, the sound reminds me of like a more amped up Buffalo Springfield, I think. There's some Buffalo Springfield in that sound to me. Especially with, I think his name's Jerry Miller, the guitar player, the lead guitar player. His tone reminds me of a lot of Neil Young from Buffalo Springfield. And I'm a big Neil Young, Buffalo Springfield fan. So that's a great thing. I love the guitar tone on this album. A lot of good guitar on this album. If you're into guitar, get this album, check this album out. But like I said, I'm not going to go by track. It's a really good album. Standouts, Hey Grandma, Omaha is probably my favorite one. Indifference, the last song, is the longest on the album at 4:14. That's another great song. That's another thing I want to mention. This album is quick and to the point. The songs are short. I believe there's 5 songs that are less than 2 minutes long. So this song is like, what, half an hour? Somewhere around half an hour. And it just hits you right in the gut. It's so good. For those of you who have never heard of Moby Grape, check it out. It's a great debut album. They went on to make a couple more albums in the 60s, I believe. And I think it was a couple more. I've heard a couple more. And they're really good too, but obviously I'm doing the debut album because that came out in 67. That's kind of the thing I'm doing right now. And it's just a really great guitar album. And why this band didn't get bigger than they were, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I probably would not know about this band if it wasn't for my dad, who was really into Moby Grape. He had the albums on vinyl, and I used to listen to them, and good stuff. A good album from start to finish. It really is. Classic 60s album. One of the most underrated bands and albums from the 60s. So check out Moby Grape by Moby Grape. And I'm not sure which album I'm doing next time, but there'll be another one from 67. So have a great day, everybody, and check out Moby Grape.